Hey everybody, welcome to the Ski Summit Real Estate Show. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to cover news about real estate. We're going to cover some top listings, good deals, and we're going to have a special guest on us with today. Talk about some lending stuff, talk about kind of where things are going as far as the Fed and what we're going to see as far as mortgage industries and real estate industries. So good stuff, but I got my host and my producer, Benji Does with Benji with Benji Does. Good to see you, Benji. Thanks for being on here today.
I like being here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I'm excited to share what we got. Before we get going, if you would mind liking and subscribing, that would be fantastic. Appreciate it. And we'll get you guys some good information today. So what do we got on the top docket? We don't have our guest yet, but he'll be here soon.
Alrighty. I've got real estate news and what's going on in Summit County. Which one of those two would you like to do?
Yeah, let's go ahead and hit up with what's happening in Summit.
So what's happening in Summit County says Memorial Day and NRO, the National Repertory Orchestra. Say that 5 times fast.
I'm having a little tough time with my words today too, so it's okay. So the NRO, National Repertory Orchestra, comes up every year during Memorial Day. They actually, I think they're here for like a week, so we got a bunch of different stuff. So we've got starting on what are we today? We're the 23rd.
Today's the 23rd, so let's get down there. So there's the Porch Series on the 24th. That's Monday. Dang, that looks nice.
So we are, So we got Porch Series. We've got they just play a bunch of stuff, but one of the ones that they do often is on Memorial Day, and they just, it's beautiful. It's a really great just kind of tribute to our fallen, to our service people, and we love to catch that.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So such talent, such skilled musicians. So, and then we also have, different things going on around Dillon Cemetery. We're going to be over there. They usually do a tribute there. The Boy Scouts are going to be there. My son will be there raising the flag, helping with that. So it's just a good time to just and it's amazing how many people don't do things for Memorial Day. And it's like, this is just such a great thing that we need to be on top of.
Yeah. I don't do a ton of stuff on Memorial Day. I'm just kind of lazy,
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And thank you, Benji, for your service. Cause it's guys like you that we're recognizing.
Yeah. I was just a dumb kid and needed a job. That's all that was.
Well, that's how they get you in, right?
It is absolutely how they get you in. My son has lots of questions about it all the time. And I'm like, hey, if you're 18 and you don't know what to do,
oh gosh,
figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out.
My dad told me, he said, give him hell.
Get him, young and dumb. It's just the way to go.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, it looks like our guest finally showed up.
Yes.
There he is. Should I bring him on?
Bring him on.
All right, here he comes. It's an impromptu sound check. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hey, I am doing awesome, Benji. Thank you for your service, sir. I didn't know you were a vet.
Yeah, Air Force, 7.5 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for your service. And great to be on the program. Love the program.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, Chris. So for those of you that don't know Chris Magnotta is with Elevate Home Mortgage, and just a wealth of knowledge. Chris has been just kind of my go-to he does his Wealth Wednesdays. Chris has a lot of finance knowledge from his education in that and background. And I've watched him over the years make investment moves. And this is not investment advice, but I'm like, so many times I'm like, I should have done what Chris did.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm very lucky to be around a group of very smart people. I don't know how I ended up in this group. Like, man, how did this dirtbag get in this group of wealthy, smart people? That's how I feel a lot of times. And yeah, I've been blessed that I've had a great education. So thank my parents for that one, I guess, because I owe a lot to them for that. And so, yeah, it's fun. I love talking about this stuff. I love finance, I love investing, I love economics, and I love housing. I think it all ties together so well, and yeah, I love my job. It's a lot of fun.
Surrounding yourself with smarter people is always a good move.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Shows
I find
you're a
someone
smart
smarter
man.
than me, and I'm like, okay, that guy did something good. I'm going to do that.
Shows you're a smart man. Changes from high school. I think if any of my friends are listening, don't take it personally. I don't think I did that in high school.
Yeah.
They just not. They'd be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, if people knew me in high school, they'd be like, wow, I can't believe this guy's not in jail. How the heck is he actually doing something good? It's amazing.
Oh man, in jail or dead. So,
right?
So what we talked a little bit about going into this, and you had a video recently talking about the Fed taper.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind going into that a little bit and telling our crew what the Fed taper is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Fed taper is kind of like this mysterious thing because no one quite gets it. When people think about the Fed, they think of like, lowering interest rates, right? And that's kind of what we think of. But the reality is the Federal Reserve has like an entire monetary policy. And it's not just, hey, what is the Fed funds rate? It's not just, what are we going to raise or lower interest rates? And one of the big things that the Federal Reserve does is they manage a balance sheet. So think of it this way. Everyone knows that our government has a lot of debt. And we call that a balance sheet, right? So our government has all this debt, right? And a lot of it they picked up during COVID, right? So we got 2020 and 2021, and we had all this government stimulus. And so if you flash back to 2020 and 2021, we had these interest rates that were just silly. Like I was so popular. I'm not that popular with today's interest rates. Let me tell you, okay? But back then, let me tell you how popular it was. Like everyone wanted to talk to me. I could mint out some 2% and 3% interest rates all day long, and people loved me for it. But it was fake. It should have never been there, right? And so the reality is this rate should have been about 1 to 1.5% higher than they were in 2020 and 2021. And so what the Federal Reserve was doing is they were buying treasury bills and they were buying mortgage-backed securities and kind of creating a fake demand in the market. And so you have the Federal Reserve buying all these treasuries, buying all these mortgage-backed securities, creating a fake market dynamic. It artificially pushes interest rates low by about 1 and 1.5%. And the reason they did it was because there's all this panic about a housing crash. So if you flash back to, right when COVID was hitting, people were like, oh my gosh, guys, the housing market is going to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to crash. And I remember cranking out these videos at the time. Like you said, I always make these videos. And I remember telling them like, hey guys, don't worry. The housing market's not going to crash because the Federal Reserve, they're coming in with guns a-blazing. They're coming in and they're buying 60, 100 billion a month in treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. It pushes rates low. Low rates stimulate demand. And I put my money where my mouth was. I bought an investment property May, right after COVID. Everyone thought I was a total idiot. I'm like, I bought it. Now, of course, it's doubled, right? But point is they come in and they artificially make these interest rates low through building up their balance sheet. So now they taper that off. And so now, our rates weren't artificially low anymore. And so as a result, of course, rates started going up. And we saw that happen, of course, roughly a year and a half ago. The Federal Reserve stopped doing it and the interest rates started going up. And now they're basically doing the polar opposite of what they were doing in 2020 and 2021. So rather than buying all these mortgage-backed securities and buying all these treasuries, they're doing the opposite. They're selling them. It's called a balance sheet runoff is the fancy term. Okay. And they are currently, as of this month, selling 60 billion a month in treasuries and about 30 billion a month in mortgage-backed securities. That's a lot, right? And so it puts all this excess supply into the market. And without getting into a bunch of bond modeling stuff, like I took graduate level classes on bond modeling, what that does is it artificially pushes rates up. So you have rates that are currently right now about 1.5% higher than they should be because of this fake market manipulation that the Federal Reserve is doing. So it really stinks. But here's the good news. Here's the good news. There's good news. There's good news. I promise. I could be popular again. No, the good news is they're going to start tapering that off starting in June. So this is coming quick. This is quicker than people think. So currently, like I said, they're doing $60 billion a month of balance sheet reduction, putting these securities into the market, these bonds into the market, and they're going to start reducing it and basically cutting that in half. Wow. So they've thrown out the number of 25 billion. So we've got 60 billion going to 25 billion. Now they're going to taper it. So it doesn't mean like, boom, interest rates are going to go down 1.5% overnight. That's not going to happen because they don't want to be disruptive to the market. The last thing the Federal wants to do is just cause a bunch of problems in the market, and changing, $30 billion worth of treasuries going into the market in a short period of time would do that. So what they're going to do is they're going to start their tapering. And so they're going to start slowly bringing down those amount of treasuries that they're pumping into the market. And so that should start to bring down mortgage rates. Now, mortgage rates are still a market dynamic. So you can't predict the future. You can't predict what mortgage rates are going to do. But if all things were equal, let's say there were no market pressures on mortgages, which is impossible, but that would mathematically start to reduce mortgages. And so probably about a year from now, mathematically, you would see about a 1.5% improvement in mortgage rates, all things equal in the market. So it really is very good news for people who are buying now, because they know, hey, the probability of them refinancing, in a year is very high. So they know that's really good news. But it's also good news for price stability, because to my first point where I was like, hey, the Federal Reserve was pumping all these, these bonds, they're buying all these bonds in 2020, 21, and that caused the price stability during COVID. So for people who are going to buy a house and maybe worried about pricing instability, that's really good news, because the Federal Reserve, putting less bonds into the market is a really good thing for price stability. That's essentially what kept prices stable during COVID. In fact, increased them, right? So I think it's good news for two reasons. One, like I said, it really kind of gives a little bit of a forecast, a foreshadow into the Federal Reserve's monetary policy, and gives really good clues of like, hey, we got really some high probability of some lower interest rates in the next year. But also it's really good news for housing prices and price stability.
No, that is encouraging. It sounds like it's going to be just a slow, gradual change, which is probably a good thing.
It's a good thing, yeah.
Drastic changes aren't the greatest, but meanwhile, definitely it'll be yet to see what the summer stacks up for. What are the as far as new loan applications? What have we been looking like for that?
So applications year over year are actually slightly down year over year. So keep in mind, like, we had the biggest waterfall dive in demand ever. I don't know if you do it, about a year and a half ago, when interest rates really started going up, housing demand literally crashed to the lowest level ever if you adjust for population. Okay. So, which is actually really phenomenal. Think about that. Like, we survived the biggest drop in demand ever the one, and it's talking about like on a 1 year drop, biggest drop in demand ever, and yet our prices are stable. That shows a lot about the stability of the housing market, because if it can survive the lowest demand drop ever, and we're not like housing market isn't crashing, that just shows you how tight our housing market is and how much at the end of the day we still have a housing shortage, particularly in the mountain communities.
That
right?
tight inventory, yeah.
That tight inventory is really a thing. But so we went to last year. So last year, like I said, was literally, when you population adjusted, was the lowest mortgage application data ever. And I remember talking to some friends. I'm like, well, at least we know this is as bad as it's ever going to get. And and meanwhile, I think some 40+% of loan officers did not renew their license last year because they just went out of business.
40%?
Yeah, 40% did not renew their license. And so then I'm like, well, okay, it's as worse as it's ever gone. Nope. It is actually slightly worse this year. So mortgage applications. Yeah. So mortgage applications are, pressing new historical lows. So demand really, again, showing new historical lows. Mortgage application index, the mortgage purchase application index, is really probably the best indicator of demand out there, because, there's all kinds of metrics for measuring demand, and people are like, well, people pay cash, and yeah, I get that. But at the end of the day, the mortgage application purchase index is really about the best indicator of what demand is out there. So we have super low demand out there right now, but to your point, like, we still have super low supply. So that's why we have balance, right? It's like, COVID, we had demand way up here, we had supply down here, so prices shot up like crazy. Yeah. Now demand's dropped, but our supply is still really low. So we have, stability in the market because, demand and supply are both low. Yeah. So at some point, one of these two is going to break, and it'll be really interesting to watch.
Kmart. You go into Kmart.
Yeah.
There's not much demand there, but then there's not much on the shelves either.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're like in the Kmart market.
Yeah, so that's kind of, but yeah, so mortgage applications are down right now. But we're seeing some bright spots too in the financing. We are starting to see more creative mortgage products coming out. Particularly with folks who are self-employed, that particularly people who are self-employed that have good income but maybe don't show it on paper because they have really good accountants, and they want to keep their tax liabilities low. So we're seeing some really cool stuff come online right now where people can qualify, just on their bank statements. People can, qualify maybe if they haven't been self-employed for 2 years, if they have, show strong potential for good income. And so, yeah, there's some really cool stuff coming online too that I think is there's some positives there in the mortgage world.
Well, that segues into the no ratio stuff. That sounds scary. That kind of sounded like a 2008 scenario. No money down.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. It is. And rightfully so. Like when people talk about like, oh, wow, we don't have, we're qualifying people without doing all their income checks, and like, hey, we're not using the income that's on the tax return, to qualify these people. Like, whoa, alarm bells, red flags are going off everywhere, and rightfully so. That was a huge deal, of course. 2003, particularly through 2007, those were really bad years for lending. Like, a lot of bad stuff was being done there as far as qualifying people that shouldn't have been qualified for it. But I think the one big difference now versus 2003, 2004 through 2007 is people have a lot more skin in the game, and so people just aren't going to go into foreclosure. So in particular, what I mean skin in the game particularly is down payment. So I think when these creative programs are coming out, but at the end of the day, these are still really good buyers. Where like 2004, it was like, I bought a house in 2007, and I still own a house in Summit Cove, right? That I bought. That was prior to 2007. That was probably 2004. I was not qualified for those properties, Matt. I was not qualified for them. All right. I should not have been buying those properties. those type of loans don't exist anymore because I didn't really have, like, one of them I did zero down. I did zero down. They didn't verify my income, and it was investment property. I mean, this stuff is crazy, right? But now it's like, okay, these ones, these creative programs for self-employment, they're doing large down payments. Like, you will not get one if you're not doing a large down payment. And you're not getting one if you don't have strong credit history and, show positive, previous cash flow. So at the end of the day, like, the loans that are being creative out there aren't going to be causing big foreclosure risk down the road like we saw, in the mid 2000s.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's encouraging. I got in the business in 2012, so I was turning logs at the time. Pretty clueless to what was happening there, but yeah, definitely saw the aftermath when I got in. We were kind of on the up cycle, so I didn't know anything but brighter days.
Yeah, for sure. Those were crazy times. Go watch The Big Short. If you haven't seen The Big Short, that should be everyone's homework assignment who's worried about the housing market, because that, like, I lived through that. It was wild. And that movie is shockingly accurate. Like, that is, a lot of people who don't know what happened watch that movie and like, no way, that can't be real. It's real. It was. That movie is spot on. Nothing like that's happening.
I've not seen it. I'll have to check.
That's your homework assignment, Matt. You got to watch that movie. It's
Short. What's it rated? Because I'm not allowed to watch anything.
I don't know. Actually, it might be PG-13. I don't know. I don't remember any violence or extreme sex scenes. A lot of swearing, probably.
Probably a lot. Yeah, considering what was going on in the time.
Yeah, for sure.
So awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're welcome to stick around and chime in on anything you want to chime in on.
For sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
So very cool. Benji, what else we got next for us today?
Let's see. We've got the real estate news. Prospector's marketplace could soon bring a host of locals' favorite restaurants to Frisco Main Street. So they're putting in a food court.
Yeah. Yeah, that goes back to our, Benji and I were talking about turning malls into housing.
But a couple weeks ago.
Got to keep but the only prerequisite is you need to keep the food court.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
I love it. We got to do it. You want to fund us, Chris?
Absolutely.
We got a new proposition.
You like high rates, right? I got you covered.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
Publishing rates.
Bring it on. So new food court in Frisco.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was you caught some? Oh, the euros.
It was the apostrophe.
The apostrophe. They possess the euros. Those are
well, empanadas has an apostrophe too.
They belong to the euros and the empanadas. They're actually stakeholders in this whole project.
Yeah.
So Prospect Marketplace in Frisco, right off Main Street, going to have a new food court. So I'm really curious to see how this one will do. Because we have the Bluebird Market, which is down in Silverthorne, and they built this huge barn type structure, big steel type structure. They encompassed the old Dillon Inn, which we used to be down in where Lake Dillon is now. They had moved that out. It's a historic building, the ODI, and it's kind of a cool concept. But I'll be really curious how this new food court thing goes. So.
Interesting.
Get some empanadas and some euros, and you can belong to them. They will own you.
Yeah.
So
all right. So we did what's going on, real estate. Oh, now you got to do the market update.
Yeah. So let me share my screen. So we've got right now, and this kind of segues into what Chris was talking about as far as the oops, I think I just did that. As far as the demand that we've seen. So you can kind of see, it's a little bit behind us right now, but you can see how this line has flattened out, and this is where we were that Chris was talking about. And it's just like we just plunged down to here when those interest rates went up, and that demand has just settled out. These are like pending properties, things that have gone under contract. So that said, kind of along the lines of what Chris was saying, with the potential future outlook of rates going down, that demand is down because of the interest rates. So if for anybody that has the stomach for it and the funds for it, you don't want to bet the whole barn, or the whole farm, but you want to be able to get into it if you can right now at this market right now where it's lower demand. Our inventory is starting to come up. So there's really some opportunities because it's taking a lot longer for properties to sell. If you look at like the days on market here, you can kind of see how that's just continued to come up. And, if we look at more the average versus the median, 59 days on market, that's just getting sellers to a place where it's like, okay, maybe I need to get a little bit more aggressive on my price, or maybe I can negotiate a little bit more off my price. So if you're a buyer in this market looking for that, jump on it. And, sellers, there's still low inventory. So if you got a good property and you're willing to be realistic on the price, you can move it. So that's not a problem. So anyway, that's what we got for right now as far as our little market update.
All right. And the next thing that I've got, my video's not showing up, is the MLS check. We've got 3 new properties this week. Let me see if I can pull this up. There it is. Does it show up on that side?
Yeah.
All right. I've never seen this. A condo below 400 grand.
I know.
I
You
might
got
have
any
to
of those
jump
in
on
Steamboat, Chris?
No, I don't think so. And maybe a couple of deed restricted ones, but not fair market ones.
Yeah. So these are fair market value, and they're up in the wilderness. And I know Steamboat's seen the short-term rental restrictions. There's probably some areas that have gotten hurt by that more, but it's that combo of the thing. And you were talking about, Chris, insurance rates. These guys have gotten, they got the double whammy. They got the insurance rates went up. And then actually they got the trifecta. Insurance rates went up, no short-term rentals. And then on top of it, they've got some stuff with the HOA as far as some structural things in one of the buildings. So I think that these are going to get figured out. I mean, they will get figured out. They're going to figure it out. And once they do, and things get better, then these are going to go up in value. But the fact that you can get into something right now in Summit County for this price is pretty good opportunity. So, but yeah, those HOA fees are a little bit harder to swallow right now, no doubt.
What are the HOA fees for this one right now?
They're like up in $1,000 bucks.
$29,000 annually.
That would be more like 2,000 plus.
Yeah.
So that's a lot for a 1-bedroom condo.
That's what I pay in rent. Just
away.
Then you'd have a mortgage on top of it. I thought this was going to be a smoking deal, but
no, there's no free lunch. No. But it is, that one is. These ones have been hit pretty hard with all different directions. So I do feel for the owners of these things right now, because that can quickly become unaffordable.
All right, here's our next one, another condo. This one's going for $590,000 in Silverthorne. This is 10,000 Ryan Gulch Road. We've been on Ryan Gulch Road a lot. Yeah, another good opportunity, 3-bedroom place. So for it's a good price for something up there. Got trails right nearby. Kind of a little bit of the same stuff going on there, but they don't have they don't have any structural issues or anything like that. But a 3-bedroom place for under $600,000 in Summit County, it's another good opportunity. Yeah, I like this a lot.
Yeah, nice big tall ceilings, open.
Yeah, this isn't bad for that price for up there.
Yeah, because a year ago we sold a 2-bedroom one for $100,000 less than this.
Is this got really high HOAs?
Not as they are high, but not as bad as the Treehouse one. Good amenities, good bike trails right nearby. Well, the bike trails in Steamboat, Chris, you drying out pretty well?
Yeah, we're getting there. I went on a nice ride this morning. up on the mountain to about where the top of the Christie is, and down is dry. So
good.
yeah, so
Good.
yeah, getting and a lot of emeralds dry. So yeah, it's good
All
times.
right.
That
We're
time of
getting
year, you
close.
get excited.
Yeah, we got a few that are definitely dry.
Yeah.
So
This last one is 476 Highwood Circle in Breckenridge.
yeah, so this one's right over there by the Nordic Center, my folks' business there. So the ski trail's pretty much right out the door. The Nordic Center parking lot is right over to the right there.
Is this it?
Yep, that's it. And the big lodge there, and they do weddings outside there in the summertime. So really cool wedding venue. But mom makes some pretty killer homemade soup.
Killer soup.
Killer soup. But yeah, great location, White Wolf neighborhood, close to the ski area. These just are nice and open, big, bright, and pretty much go skiing right out your door. So you got the garage. So for that 1.7, I think this is a pretty good opportunity for somebody. Nice big decks. You got the pass-through fireplace. Those are vintage.
I do enjoy that.
those are vintage. The jacuzzi tub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Waved your wife over in the
through the fire. She's having visions.
It's
a good looking place.
Yeah, that's a good place.
It reminds me of my parents' first place, the same kind of wooden features, fixtures.
Yeah, my recommendation, if you got oak cabinets, just paint them.
Yeah. Paint them pink.
Anything. Yeah, just paint them anything.
we should make pink be a thing. I don't know how you do it. That's a good looking place.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
A little updating, but overall great location, good spot. So, well, awesome. Chris, thank you for being here today on a show and all your wonderful wealth of knowledge. So we'll have to do it.
My pleasure. Tons of fun.
Awesome. Benji, thank you. Everybody, thank you for joining us for Ski Summit Real Estate Show. Stay tuned for next Thursday's show again at 2:00. We do this live every week, coming to you from the mountains of Colorado. Thanks for being here. Hope to see you in the mountains soon, and take care.